Welcome to the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. I'm your host, Brian Briscoe. Really excited for today's show. We've got Josh Green on the line with us today. So, Josh, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, good to have you on. So, it's been a while. Hope you're well. And do us a favor and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'll try to give you the quick version. Right now, I'm doing small scale development, consulting, and education. My background is in multifamily appraisal and consulting that I did
Mhm.
all over Utah and surrounding states for like 11 years. Got super burned out on the appraisal. I love the consulting side, working with developers. So I decided I wanted to kind of make that shift into building something. I did the MRED program here at the University of Utah.
And
Went to work for a
MRED,
developer.
Master of Real Estate
Oh,
Development.
Masters
Is
of
that
Real
correct?
Estate
Yeah,
Development.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, I know you and I know what that is, but yeah. So,
Yeah,
and University of Utah, man, they're doing well in football this year. But anyway, let's
I know.
back
Lost
to
losing
yeah.
our coach though.
I know. But I mean, I guess we knew that was going to happen, just didn't know when, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, 20 something years with the same team, that's almost unheard of in college football. So anyway, let's hit the appraisal first, then we'll go MRED. Did you get
Okay.
into the appraisal business because you liked real estate, or what was kind of like the reasoning behind that?
Pure like dumb luck. I had no idea what an appraiser was. My grandparents owned the house next door to us growing up and they rented it out. I was the kid that mowed the lawn. Like I couldn't wrap my 8-year-old head around like someone was paying them money to live there.
Yeah.
And so that just always stuck in my head. And I thought, I want to do something in real estate. I did property management for a short time just because that's the only job I knew you could get at the time
Yeah.
in real estate. And just purely, dumb luck or right place, right time, stumbled into appraisal and ended up being there for like 11 years. So,
Yeah. I mean, fun fact about me, when I was in the military, I was looking at a get out and I didn't know how to get into commercial real estate. And I took a course on commercial real estate appraisal thinking, okay, that'll get me in the door at least. And anyway, I was toying with the idea of doing the same thing, becoming an appraiser because I didn't know how else to get into commercial real estate. But yeah, I got a stack of books from the appraisal course right there in the corner too.
yeah.
So anyway, so you hit appraising, said you got burnt out of that, and then take us from there. Was that when you went to the back to the University of Utah and got the master's?
Yeah, I mean, appraisal was a really good background for me for what I do now, and especially multifamily. I've looked at every type of residential rental property you can think of all across Utah and surrounding states, and done the analysis, the valuation, the underwriting. So that was a really good background for what I do now. Half of the business was appraisal, and that's just kind of a grind of a career. And someone's always mad at you, no matter what you do.
Oh yeah.
The value's never where people want it to be. And but half of our business was consulting and working with developers and cities, helping them to figure out what to do with the property. And I really like that side. I love numbers, like I'm an Excel nerd,
Yeah.
but I also really like the creative side. I love that they were actually going and like building things. And so, we would do the market study, tell them what type of property to build, how many units, what sizes, what mix, what amenities, do all the underwriting for them, all backed by the market analysis, showing supply and demand, everything. Pretty in-depth reports. And I really loved that. I thought, like maybe I should pivot to the development side, like see if I can do that. And I didn't know how to go about it, but I did know that the University of Utah had the Masters of Real Estate Development, the MRED program. And so I kind of thought about it for a couple of years and I finally just decided, it's now or never, I'm going to do it. And it ended up being an awesome experience. And I teach 2 classes up there in the program now. And yeah, it
Wow.
was great.
Yeah. Awesome. 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 So from there, you started working for a development company, correct?
I did, yeah. One of my classmates kind of recruited me to come over to, at the time, it was a little bit of a startup. It was a small group, and they were really focused on kind of infill development in Salt Lake City. And that was an exciting time. I got to, do a lot of things and learn a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have anywhere else.
Yeah.
Over the 4.5 or so years that I was there, I did all the underwriting, all the market analysis, debt, equity, and the team when I was there, I think we built, I added it up a while back. I think it was like 1,200 units between single
Wow.
family homes, townhomes, apartments, condos all over Utah. So yeah, that was a great experience. That was kind of the missing piece in a lot of ways. I didn't really know how to put a deal together with, the capital stack and LP returns and all those things. And so both the MRED and working for this developer kind of helped me to understand that side of it.
Hmm. Now, what years were these?
I graduated the program in at the end of 2017,
Okay.
and so I started working for this developer, I think in 2018,
Okay. So it
and
wasn't
and I
too
was
long
oh,
ago. When you said, "Oh man," I'm like, "Oh no, I'm going to embarrass him." He's going to say like 1982. No, I'm kidding. I know you're not that old, but
no, I
uh,
mean it's almost 10 years since
oh
I
yeah.
graduated from the MRAD. That's what was making me feel old. Yeah,
Yeah, time does fly. That's for sure. And did they only do Utah developments, or it was regional, national? What where was the footprint?
only Utah. Yeah,
Okay.
they had a division that was kind of northern Utah,
Mhm.
Wasatch Front, and then they have a division that's in southern Utah in St. George.
Awesome, awesome. So you left them to strike it out, not exactly on your own. I know you have a partnership, but let's talk about the reasons that you did that. What kind of motivated you to do that? And once you made the switch, let's talk about some of the challenges you had, going it alone, because that's probably where a lot of people listening to this are kind of sitting right now.
Yeah, we could be here all day talking about
Yeah, challenges,
challenges.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to do my own thing. My grandpa was an entrepreneur. My dad has tried a handful of things as an entrepreneur. That's what I've always wanted to do. My undergrad was in business entrepreneurship. And I think with this development company, I'd gone kind of as far as I could within the organization. I didn't feel like I had anything really left to offer them. I didn't feel like they really had anything left to offer me either. Kind of all those things together, it just ended up being a good time for me to give it a shot. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the challenges. There's been a
All
lot,
day. Yeah, it's
so much
it's
harder than you think.
It's interesting, I reflect on that a lot. I was military, which there were some very challenging things I did, but I always had other people around me and I always had systems and support. I mean, if things got really, really bad, I pick up the phone and there's somebody, or sometimes it's a radio, but there's somebody on the other end who's ready to help. I think one of the biggest challenges I've seen is the fact that you don't have that support system to rely on. That's been the biggest thing for me, going solopreneur versus, in a big job. And anyway, go ahead and talk about your experience a little bit.
Yeah, no, similar. And I've tried, over the 20 whatever years I've been in real estate to do some things on my own, and they never went anywhere because, young, dumber me, like I thought I could do everything by myself. I thought I could learn construction, I could learn design, I could, learn all these things. And I just can't, like, especially in development, it's really hard to be an expert in everything, right? Like,
Yeah.
the reason that it's been different this time around is because, like you said, I've found some great partners, a great support group to kind of help and, that I can partner with, can fill in the gaps where I don't know a lot about construction or about like architecture. Like, I've got
Mhm.
people I can pull in on projects to help with those things. And I just kind of focus on what I'm good at and
Mhm.
kind of overseeing the project. But yeah, it can be lonely. And the more people that I've talked to in the same situation, I kept hearing the same thing. So
Yeah.
one of the things I'm doing here in Utah is we've started this, it's called the Impact Development Collaborative.
Hmm.
And it was kind of meant to be, sort of a support group or a therapy group for for
Hmm.
developers. So it's a small group. There's, contractors, architects, lenders, all the whole spectrum, all trying to do similar things, right? And so we get together a couple times a month and just try to help each other out, try to, teach each other, support each other, and that's been huge.
That's interesting. Is that separate from the lunch group?
Yep. So yeah, we do.
Okay.
My business partner Patrick Spadine and I, we do
Hmm.
a monthly event called Talk About Real Estate. Started as a joke. We were just
Yeah.
sitting around talking about how much we love tacos, and we just said, "Hey, what if we ordered a bunch of tacos and had someone talk about real estate and invited a bunch of people?" And we thought if we could get like 20 people to show up the first time, we'd be feeling pretty good. And I think we had like 40 or something the first time,
Yeah.
and
Nice.
yeah, that's been awesome. It's been a really good way. I'm an introvert, and so it's been a
Mhm.
good way for me to meet people by organizing this event and bringing people to me instead of me going out individually trying to meet all these different people. So it's been a really great experience.
Yeah, I see it advertised a lot, and I'm on your list, but I haven't made it out for that yet. You're a little too far to drive for just a
Yeah.
lunch. So, for people listening, I'm about 2 hours away from where Josh is at. But yeah, so let's go back to that impact development collective. Is that what you called it?
Collaborative. Yeah.
Collaborative. Let's talk about that a little bit, what that is, and what benefit it provides, and what benefit people get from it. Well, that's the same thing. What benefit you get from it?
Yeah. Well, for me, mostly it's just, like you said, to not feel like I'm doing this on my own, to
Yeah.
have people that have similar goals, similar mindset. It's kind of like loose membership, but we try to
Mhm.
invite people that have the same type of mindset of like wanting to help people out and
Yeah.
not looking for every last penny for themselves. So we start with a really good group of people with different backgrounds, and yeah, we just try to help each other out and support each
Mhm.
other in the projects that we're doing and where we want to go. And it's a great group of people. It's been super fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, cool. Let's talk about some of the types of deals you're doing, and I'll leave it to you to, if you want to be general or if you want to talk specific. But I know you guys have some developments and you got some multifamily deals that are always rolling. But yeah, let's talk about what you do for now.
Yeah, I'll give you kind of the brief overview of
Mhm.
some of the things we've done, and we can dive into anything you want to. We bought, a couple older apartment buildings in
Mhm.
Ogden, Utah, about 45 minutes north of where I am in Salt
Mhm.
Lake. We did a adaptive reuse. We bought an old building in Layton that
Mhm.
you
Yep.
are familiar with and converted it into kind of a co-working space, or
Mhm.
I guess more like executive office space. We've done some land deals. We just finished building 20 townhomes 3 hours south from me in
Mhm.
Cedar City near St. George. They're all for rent. We have a couple more of those lined up, more in Cedar City and one in Ogden.
When I look at cities to do stuff in, I want some sort of critical mass there. Cedar City is kind of a small city. What's your experience there? What do you like about it? And how's things been going so far?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to my kind of market analysis
Hmm.
consulting days. I've seen developers that, they went into small towns like Cedar
Hmm.
and they built the nicest apartment community in the area, different parts of Wyoming, where no one would think, no institutional group would think
Yeah.
of going. And they built, these really great quality product, and they just did really well because there was no competition essentially, and that kind of always stuck in my mind. And so my experience with Cedar until recently has been, stop for gas and something to eat on the way to
Hmm.
St. George or back home. And I'd been to the
Yeah,
Shakespearean Festival once or twice,
which is
and
awesome. Yeah.
that was really all I knew about it. But the more I started digging into it, it has all the fundamentals that we want to see. It's got great employment growth. There's SUU, Southern Utah University, is there growing. It's been one of the fastest growing universities in the state by
Mhm.
enrollment. There's an inland port project area out to the west that's bringing a lot of manufacturing companies and jobs,
Yeah.
just in general, good population growth. So those are all kind of the fundamentals of the
Mhm.
demand side of the equation, just a lot of growth. And when you look at the supply side, nothing had really been built there that was, purpose built for market rate for rent. At the time we started poking around for like probably 20 years,
Yeah.
and there just weren't a lot of options. There'd been a lot of new student housing built for the university. There'd been a lot of low income housing tax credits development for those lower income renters, but nothing really professionally managed, purpose built for rent. And so that's where we saw the opportunity is like, hey, there's all this growth. No one's going in to do something because it's kind of unproven in a lot of ways. And we thought, we can take a risk on building 20 units down there. And it's gone well so far. Yeah, we just finished construction on that. We're 80% occupied. Most of our tenants actually have relocated to Cedar City from out of state, so from outside of Utah for work. So yeah, it's been going well.
There is a lot of growth. I mean, Utah-wide, but Southern Utah, like Cedar and St. George, are getting a lot of growth. My in-laws live on the other side of the mountains from Cedar. They're in a little town called Hatch. And I
Oh,
know
cool.
when they go to town, when they say they're going to town, it's Cedar City, right? So
Yeah.
the other thing it has going for it is there's a lot of really small towns in southern Utah, and that's where they go to their Walmarts, I mean,
Oh,
they have
yeah.
a small grocery store close, but anything that's, outside of that small grocery store, they're going to Cedar City. I think Cedar City has two Walmarts now, is what I've been told. Is that
There's one right now. They just announced a Winco. They're building two new Smith's grocery stores, one on either end of town. So
yeah.
yeah, that's
More
exciting.
options when we go to town. So that's the extra benefit. We see the same thing in Idaho Falls is, all these little communities congregate here. And so for the amenities places like Cedar City and Idaho Falls have, they punch above their weight compared to what the population size is, So yeah,
Yeah.
so
I mean, there's recreation around there too, right? Like
mhm.
there's the ski resorts, there's
Yeah.
hiking, mountain biking, like you've got all of that super close
Mhm.
too.
national parks. I mean, Cedar City's just hop, skip, and a jump from Zion's, and then
Yep.
Bryce
Yep.
Canyon's really close, and then Coral Sand Dunes. Oh, that's a real
Uh-huh.
pretty park too.
Cedar Breaks is right there. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful area. So lots of good reasons for Cedar. So you got some stuff going down in Cedar. You answered my hard questions on that one. You know, why a little town and a lot of good stuff going down there. And then you said you have projects in Ogden as well. Yeah. So
I,
as far as your growth philosophy, are you going to continue staying close to home like Utah and Cedar City areas? I guess Cedar City is in Utah. So yeah.
yeah, I just, I born and raised Utah, spent my whole career here. I've worked in every corner of Utah over
Hmm.
my career, and I think there's plenty of opportunities here, especially I work on the smaller end. And so there's plenty of opportunity here. I do like parts of Idaho as well. Like I like Idaho Falls. I've worked there, Twin Falls. Yeah, I mean, if I were to go out of state anywhere, it would probably be Idaho is probably the next place that I know well. But yeah, there's plenty of opportunity in Utah. So
Awesome. 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 Well, let's kind of wrap things up here real quick and a couple questions to finish it up. Question number one, what's next for you?
oh man, that's a good question. We have some projects in the pipeline.
Mhm.
We want to get those, break ground on those this coming year. Not really actively looking for new projects right now. It's just hard to make anything work. I mean, we bought the land for these projects years ago,
Mhm.
and we just want to get those going, right? So that hopefully happens next year. We get those. This one in Ogden is pretty close. Should start early 2026. I still do consulting. I want to do more of that. I've teamed up with a couple people here to kind of build that out. And then I felt just like in the last 6 months or so, just like a real pull towards the education side. I love teaching. Like I said, I teach 2 classes at the University of Utah. I'm going to be teaching in the spring at Utah State. And then, I do my own courses too. So I'm for someone that's, has kind of gone as far as they can on, bigger pockets or watching YouTube
Mhm. Yeah.
videos, but doesn't want to go all the way to like getting a master's degree or something.
Mhm.
How can I kind of fill that gap with
Yeah.
kind of practical hands-on type education? So I've been teaching a couple courses on underwriting, finding deals through,
Mhm.
direct mail. I've got a few others in the works, but
Nice.
that's kind of where my focus is right now. We'll get these projects going, but I'm trying to build out this kind of education side. The big plan I mean, I would love to build something similar to like a tech or a venture incubator, but for small scale real estate developers. That's kind of the direction this is heading. So
There's a lot of tech incubators in Utah, and that's kind of
yeah.
like, another one pops up every week, it seems, but there really isn't that for multifamily. So now are you looking at this more from a development side, it sounds like?
Yeah, more from the development side. And again, like more on the small scale, right? Someone that's, I work with a lot of contractors, a lot of architects that are, experts at what they do.
Yeah.
They want to do development, they want to own something, but they don't know how to go like the next step, right? They know their piece of the process.
Mhm.
And so the idea is, build some education, build a support group around
Yeah.
helping someone through this whole process and whatever it is their first deal, or if it's building a fourplex or doing subdividing some lands, whatever it is,
Yeah.
just to be a resource for education network of people to help them make it happen.
Awesome. 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 Well, that's interesting. That's something I do the same thing with multifamily syndicators, so we try to do the same thing. I've got a couple, one of them that's buying a small place in Salt Lake right now, which 18 units, but
Oh,
existing. So yeah,
cool.
right along the same line there. But we'll share notes offline. But
Yeah.
um, so Josh, if you had to give advice to somebody who's just starting out, what would that advice be?
Yeah, I get this question a lot from my students at the University of Utah and just people that I talk to. And I give them the same 2 pieces of advice. The first one is you just need to take a job, even whatever it is, where you get a lot of exposure to deals. For me, it was appraisal, and I was analyzing deals every day, like understanding valuation, what makes a property valuable, looking at rent rolls, operating expenses. So any type of experience like that that you can get, whether it's with a lender, a broker, an analyst, like there's a lot of type of those positions, but there's only so much you can learn without kind of like getting your hands dirty, right? Like actually doing it and doing the analysis, figuring out what deals make sense and why and what ones don't. The second thing is networking is huge and just who you know really matters. And I'm kind of late to the game on that. I worked in the shadows of my bosses, and was comfortable there, but I had a career counselor at the University of Utah that said, no, you got to like make an effort to meet people. And so I've tried to do that through LinkedIn, through just connecting to people, going to events, like creating my own events. But really, you just need to know people and let people know what you're doing, how you can help them. I try to lead with, how can I help you before I ask for anything from you? And just getting to know people and
Mhm.
making those connections, finding people that you feel like you can work well with.
Yeah. And I'd say if you're looking to get into development, pick up the phone and call Josh because he's got a little program coming up for you. So, yeah, awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, last question. And this goes into the pick up the phone part. How can listeners learn more about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
I spend a lot of time there. It's been really good for me to meet and get to know people there. And so
Hmm.
that's probably the first place I would go.
Yeah.
You can find my contact info there. I just started a newsletter earlier this year,
Hmm.
kind of on the development side, kind of how to step by step, like how to do different things. So you can subscribe there through LinkedIn. But yeah, happy to chat and send me an email, call, text,
Sweet.
DM, whatever.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, awesome. Hey, thanks, Josh, for coming on the show. Very much appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been fun.